Let's see if it actually works. Okay. That should be my automated Discord notification to tell me that I have gone live. Let's see. Yep, I sidequested too hard and became a cage fighter. And I will talk about that, but this is my first time streaming at my new place. I really don't make apologies of any kind for when I don't upload content because no one is more upset about it than me, quite frankly. So any apology would be quite moot. But like, I will get into the details of this, but I started doing MMA training and I did a boot camp with a fight night, and that was happening at the exact same time as I was moving house. So like my boot camp and my prep was absolutely, I was like dead on my feet. I looked like I was living in a hovel, in boxes stacked sky high. I didn't have any personality in the room. I just completely let it take over my life. And then I had 1 month where I was sort of resting, relaxing, went to celebrate my birthday in Inverness, saw some nice beaches and met Nessie, and then came back, and I had always planned to do another one, but I was planning on not doing the next one, doing the one after it. But then it turns out that the one after it is in November, and I wanted to be in my grading prep then, and like I'm due to grade for my third dan in December in Taekwondo, in Shanghai style Taekwondo. So I decided, after some convincing from a few people who I met on the first boot camp, then sure, I'll do the next one. When's the next one? Only a month after the previous one finished. So I didn't manage to finish getting my DIY done before the second boot camp started. But I've got much better. Like, I've got my, you can't see all of it because of the angle of the camera, but I've got my trophy wall display here, which like I'll show people sometime. I'm hoping I can do sleep streams. That is a massively loud vehicle. I think that's the bin man. I live on the ground floor now, so I get like most of those issues, but it means I have an actual front door. But yeah, so I have my trophy wall here, have my, I call it the mega board. It's got my medal display on it, so I've got 100 awards now entirely overall across the two boards, which I'm very proud of. And like less, like the majority are from being an adult. I've got like, I think 12 overall from when I was a child, and that's it. And the rest of them I got as an adult after the age of 21, I want to say, maybe. I'm 28 now, so we're not doing so bad on averages. I'm going to mute that because that's going to annoy me. By the way, if there is any issues with the quality of the stream, please do tell me, because my internet here has been a bit janky. I think it's because we're on the 6-month free period, and because we're not actually paying them, then they're not giving us the good internet. And it's like, I would pay you if you gave me the internet I asked for. We're supposedly on the best one because, like, obviously I stream and make content, and I have 2 flatmates who also use devices, and a lot of my lighting and stuff is Wi-Fi enabled. So I got like the, you should be able to use 8 devices really aggressively forever at the same time package. So if the quality of the stream dips, please tell me and I will complain about it. Might have to use the hard access point that I have near my desk now, but I don't really know how to do that because I've never had to. Maybe I'll get a booster, who knows. But yeah, so I've got that. I've got the 2 award boards on display, and then you can't see it on the angle currently, but maybe like the picture frame on the wide angle. Then I've got my Dan certificate, so I've got my first Dan, second Dan, and then I've put up a third frame, which is empty right now, but I got the frame because I was getting an IKEA order, and it's like the same frame from IKEA. So then that'll be for my third Dan certificate when I get it in December, which is really, you know, assuming I'm going to pass. I don't think I'm going to fail. I never go for grading unless I think I'm going to pass, but it's a bit presumptuous, isn't it? And then I have 3 displays here where you can see the bottom one. This is just wrapping paper. It's a traditional like text print. What do they call it? Hyung? It might be Hyung, the Korean calligraphy type thing. And I did put it into Google Translate at one point just so I could see the image translated, and it came up with a bunch of inspirational words. Most of them I think were inaccurate. One of them I think was like a type of food, which, you know, classic for Asian characters being translated, but there was at least one that said wisdom, and I believe wisdom. And it was the wrapping paper of a gift that is the third frame of the 3, which is a traditional Korean painting that was originally hung behind the throne of the king in the, oh, what era was it? I can't remember right now. But like the sun represents the king, the moon represents the queen, and the 5 mountains are representative of the 5 major mountains in Korea, and also the display of the sun and the moon dots is to provide balance for yin and yang. And I just really like it. There's a few other things about it I really like it. There's probably a proper name for it right now, but I can't remember. It might be on my photos, actually, because it's actually a notebook. It's a painting, but it was given to me in the form of a notebook, and it had some information on the inside. So let me just see if I can find it to read out. Yeah, okay. I can't pronounce this, but I'm going to try. Iwolohobongdo, I believe, is the name of the painting. But it is demonstrated in Korean, Hyung, I think it's called. The painting reveals aspects of the cosmic dual forces, yin and yang, and the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, which if you've seen Death's Paradise, you'll sort of know about that idea. The sun symbolizes the king and the moon shows the queen. Also, 5 mountain tops represent 5 famous Korean mountains: Mountain Gumgang, Myeohyang, Jili, Bikdu, and Samkak. This painting was placed behind the king's chair, wishing eternal success on the country. And because it's behind my desk chair, I wish it eternal success on my content. And then in the middle, we have a picture that I was gifted as part of my birthday gift this year from someone I did the MMA course with. And it is the picture of my hand being raised at my very first MMA cage fight. But yeah, so fundamentally, all of those things happening, like I still have a box and a half to unpack of random miscellaneous stuff. Some stuff is stuff I actually intend to throw out, but I can't throw out until I've done my like big monologue narration vlog about it, so I can't really chuck it yet. And then I have one more IKEA pegboard to put up because oh yeah, you can't see it from this angle. You can maybe see the shelf sort of poking out a little bit, but in addition to what I was gifted as the notebook from this guy I met at a competition who's originally from Korea, who's really cool, like he got me an extra special thing. So these notebooks, he has them, and he just has a few that he gives out to people when he's touring around the UK. He told me that I think he said he spends about 6 to 8 weeks traveling every year in the UK, and I'm hoping I'm going to do a seminar at my gym now, in my dojang maybe, when he comes back next time. So he has those. He has that one and a tiger one, and he just gives them out to people. But we were talking about loads of history stuff and how I'm an absolutely insane nerd and I am a proper fangirl for Admiral Yi. And then he went home to the hotel after we'd finished at the competition. He was like, stay here, don't leave. And I was like, I'm not leaving, don't you worry, I'm good, I'm here till the end, I'm helping pack up. He was like, don't leave. And then he went to his hotel and he picked up this paper figurine of Admiral Yi, and it's like historical figures of Korea, and apparently it's part of a series. And although I kind of want the whole series now, I got my favorite guy, Chungmu. So I've got like a little display board where I've got so far just the paper little Chungmu and then 3 3D printed hearts, which I actually have a small version here from the testers. So I've got a bunch of ones here. I basically call it the evolution of man, but for kicking. Or the evolution of kicking, I guess, whatever. That's a different one. I've got a few little mini ones. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them over time. I might give them to people. Okay, I'm just going to stand up. There we go, here we go. Okay, right. So, first we have the sitting one. There you go. You can see that. And then we have the standing one. And then we have a kicking one. And on another display shelf, I have these, but bigger, because I wanted them to... I actually, the friend who made me these just on a whim, it was like a surprise. He made the medal holders. He 3D printed them. He's still building up his online business presence, but he's going to get me to do the logo and stuff as well. So it's called a Spatchbot Creates or Spatch Creates. I'm not sure which one he's going to settle on. We debated a bit. But he's making 3D print orders, and I believe you should hire him if you want to turn IKEA Skadis pegboards into your medal display, because he made those for me, and he also made these bigger to fit my display specifically how I wanted. And it looks really cool, and I'm really happy with it. And I plan to do like sleep streams in the future. It'll probably have to be either when I save up and get my Obspot Tail 2 that I've been saving for like ages. I'm about halfway saved now. It's like $1,000 for a camera. But it's going to be like a remote wireless connection, so I can mount it right next to my TV, which is there. And then it can track me as I move around and sort of go about my business in different zones. Like this is hard mounted onto my desk, so I would have to manually move it and readjust, but that's more of a webcam sort of setup. So I would mount it next to my TV, and then you can see the whole display from the bed perspective, which hopefully I can like maybe do some gaming streams like that. We'll see. That the gaming streams will be on my different channel, DebbersDo Digital. Let's see. I don't know if anyone's here right now. I don't know. Most people watch live streams after the fact, so I'm just chilling. I'm just sort of, I'm getting comfortable with it, enjoying the flow. Oh, I've stopped recording when I was having technical issues. I'm going to start recording again, and if the technical issues come back, then we know that it's not actually my internet health that's causing the problems. We know that it's the computer having a crash out and how much stuff I'm asking it to do. So I've got a cake here that I've not been eating. Oh, I can taste a bit of salt in it because I got it with a pretzel as well. This is the Neapolitan cake slice from Lidl. My favourite bit about it is the frosting, honestly, but it's still pretty good. And because I did the 2 back-to-back boot camps, which was completely unplanned, you have less time to eat, and what you are eating is like more nutrient focused and like protein dense. So I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life, but I've just had the past week of like, I'm eating crap and I'm not caring about it, and I'm just sleeping and I'm just in recovery mode, because your body can't progress unless you actually allow it to heal, and that happens at rest and in sleep mode. And I'm being a bit indulgent with my calories because I don't need to be for a bit. I never make weight. It's not about making weight. It's about, I am a disabled person, I am a performance athlete, and I know what fuels my body appropriately. It just so happens that I'm burning more calories than I'm intaking during this time because I'm training so intensely and I'm eating less frequently. So when I do eat, it's like a more of a feast kind of thing. Even though you're supposed to just like snack regularly, I do feel like I get my snacks because I always take a snack to training. And when I do early morning training, I can't even eat that early. So I just take a snack in my bag, and then I have like a pack of crisps or a protein bar or something bready before I start training. So it's like light in my stomach. Yeah. So in short, that's why I have cake. And I did have like a few lentil crisps for breakfast because my friend introduced me to proper chips, and oh my god, they're better than potato crisps, like, and they're healthier. I feel like they're a little more pricey, but like, oh, so good. My friend Dan introduced me to them, and I'm just like, I don't know how you could do this to me. I now just like have to live like this. The barbecue ones are the best, obviously, but I also really like the sea salt ones. I might try other flavors in the future. I have a cup of tea, and I'm just kind of chilling. I do have a plan for this stream later on if you're still here. So I am 2 days away. Is it 2 days? I think it's 2 days, the 29th, Wednesday the 29th at 8 a.m. UK time, BST. They're going to start a round of voting for some athletic sponsorship that I am eligible for. And fundamentally, I will go through the details of how that happened. I really like this new angle. I'm just kind of looking at myself so I know if it crashes out, but like I really like this new angle I've got going on right now. But yeah, so if I get the funding, it will cover the entire amount I need to go to the WMAC World Championships in Austria in September, which I have already paid deposits towards, so I'm kind of locked in no matter what I do now. But like, it will cover the entire expenses for me to go. Well, maybe not the entire expenses, it depends how much I want to be a tourist while I'm there. But the value of the sponsorship is £1,025.50, which is real specific, so I'm thinking that's like a pot of money that they've accumulated over a period of time. But like, I'm going to go through my sponsorship document that I wrote for my application for angel funding, which is the agency. It's not an angel investor itself, it's an angel investment agency, so they connect you with angel investors for things like athletic sponsorship mainly, but also the arts, and just general living expenses for people with disabilities who are failed by the benefit system. They have like a whole bunch of things, and people who are investors can either donate like a single amount of cash sometimes, maybe a $5, or if they are more wealthy, then they can decide to become a regular patron, make a partnership deal with the recipient. And people do it for a bunch of reasons. It's like philanthropic or like social credit, like they want to be able to say they're involved in certain industries. People assume it's a scam because when you apply, you have to like pay a $5 or something as like non-optional, and then there's optional add-ons to sort of make you prioritized if you're in competition with a couple people. But it's just to prove that you're not taking the piss and you're a legitimate candidate. Because I wrote a big ass document, but some people just write like a paragraph and that's their submission, and maybe that's fine for what they need, that's fine, but I was asking for a lot. So that's a way that they can weed out the people who would just waste their time and waste their staff resources, because humans do look at these applications and sift through them. And similarly for the voting process, that's going to be, it's only live for 3 days, which is why I'm going to try and do a real hard, fast, quick push on this, because I didn't know when it was going to be. They emailed me like a week ago with the information of, you've been deemed eligible for a voting period, and then I was like, yes, I would like that, thank you. And then a week later I get an email saying it's happening in 3 days and it will last 3 days. So less than a week's warning for the whole process, really, to act on, because I had other priorities, but this very quickly became the fastest priority. So like, yeah, I'm talking about it in a way. I will read through the document that I sent off to them back in January. And then when I have done that, I'm gonna ideally have time to continue writing my new up-to-date application. So like most of the application is like, in January, this is my history as an athlete up to now, this is my background, and then this is what I'm asking for money for, which was stuff to take place over the course of like the following 2 or 3 months. And those 2 or 3 months have passed now, so those things are in my past. I've completed them, and I can talk about the results on stream now. But I was going to do a new document to be like, oh yeah, so now I've actually completed this. These are the results I achieved. This is my next season of objectives, basically. And hopefully me talking about that in the stream will help people decide that they want to vote for me so they can sponsor me on this round of funding from angel investments. And then also I can use that written application to send forward to other potential sponsorship prospects in the likelihood that this one doesn't work out, and just, you know, there's always more money to spend in martial arts. So it's kind of a pay to play. We can pretend that it's not, but like again it is, unless you have some like amazing story where someone has magically spotted you in your local gym and just picked you up and decided you are my prodigy now, then you kind of gotta foot the bill to get yourself in front of people's eyes before people start wanting to pay you. Which, like, I called this stream I Sidequested Too Hard and Became a Cage Fighter, but like I Sidequested too hard and I'm kind of on the fast track to becoming an amateur/pro fighter that I hadn't planned on this, which is a nice little coincidence, because like I've told people before that there really isn't a professional track for Taekwondo in the UK. People are gonna go, what about the Olympics? I did Olympic trials. I did it. So there are 3 styles of Taekwondo, mainly. There's Changhan, which is the one I train, which is like OG original, what General Choi Hong Hee created when he started martial arts. Well, not martial arts overall, when he started his martial art, I should say. Because obviously he had training in karate and other stuff before that. And then he decided he wanted to go and like preach and spread the word of Taekwondo and do a big recruiting drive around the world. And he wanted to take his headquarters to Canada. And everyone at the headquarters in Korea was like, well, luckily this is a Korean martial art. We want to keep the headquarters in Korea. And he was like, no, I'm going. You can come with if you want, but I'm going. And they're like, well, we got families, so we're gonna stay here, make our own Taekwondo, blackjack and hookers and FU. And then that is how WT style was created. It was called WTF for a while until they learned what the internet was, and you know, that acronym. And then they made an entirely different rule set. It's like the Nosferatu of Taekwondo is WT style Taekwondo, because it had to be just different enough that they could say like, no, we're not like him, while maintaining the fundamental principles of dynamic footwork, high flexibility, kicking, etc. And that's sort of how that happened. And then the third type is sine wave, which like it's fundamentally the same as Changhan in curriculum. It's just the means of application involves more of the sine wave up down movement, which like people can debate about the biomechanics of that all day. That's not really my point. But that's what the general was preaching at the end of his life. In my opinion, it's kind of like a marketing ploy a little bit too, because well, if he successfully made it a very popular, fast-spreading martial art, and then people kept breaking off from him because, you know, if it's nothing's political, but, you know, if you say it's not political, you're probably one of the most political people about it. But yeah, so then it was the way that the general could say, mine is sine wave. I do sine wave. If you want to train the general's like taekwondo, do sine wave. But I practice Chang Han, which is colloquially referred to as hip twist. And basically, Chang Han and sine wave have the same curriculum. WT has a different curriculum. The Olympics have WT because they can agree on a rule set, basically. It's not like Christianity or another sect of religion where it's like all branches off and there's different nuances and therefore we can't agree on an authority. So the Olympic committee just go up to WT and go, you guys have all agreed on what's what, so you get to be in the Olympics. So I did Olympic trials and I hated it. Completely different rule set, completely different style. They even preach when they're recruiting for Olympic Taekwondo, like Team GB's program, that you don't even need a black belt in Taekwondo. You can just have any black belt in whatever, and we'll teach you the Taekwondo. I don't think it even specified it had to be a striking art when I applied, although I feel like that's implied, obviously. But that was the sort of process for me, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't like it, so there was sort of no professional track for me to ever look into becoming a martial artist as a main gig. Like, and people assume like, oh yeah, you can open a club, but I didn't really want to open a club. Another tangent, I've sort of gotten into coaching now, but I don't have a club, I do privates. And I just decided on a whim to start training MMA because I was like, oh, free grappling training. Grappling has always been a kind of a weak point for me. I'm not really comfortable with grappling. I wanna be able to fill that spot. Like when we have this bit in our grading curriculum called self-defense, which like it's all self-defense, but you know, more practical applications that don't come up within our sparring rule set. Stuff that is in Taekwondo that we drill and practice and do in patterns, but is stuff that we can't really implement in our sparring combat because of the rule set we adopt generally. So like chokes, takedowns, below the waist sort of attacks, all that kind of stuff is embodied in self-defense, and I just never felt comfortable with it. It felt like I was really unsure of it, and I was like, you know what? MMA could fill that gap. And then I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected. There are things about the culture I still have massive gripes about, but I really enjoy it. I feel like I'm good at it. Obviously, I accelerated through the beginner's course faster than someone who has absolutely no martial arts training whatsoever. That's to be expected. And I am obviously not amazing. Got loads to learn still. Going to jiu-jitsu tonight. That's why I'm wearing my hooks outfit that I had literally delivered from Australia before my last fight, and honestly, totally worth it. Love it. If there's just a sponsor, I'm not sponsored, but like if you want a sponsor, like talk to me. Yeah, so I started doing all this, and suddenly the professional track has become an option again, because like I am a digital marketer by profession. I describe myself as a full-stack digital marketer with a content marketing specialism. I've been making videos since I was 14, and I've just added on stuff as and when it's arised because I hate not knowing how to do something I'm trying to do, and I refuse to outsource when I know I'm capable of learning it and enjoy learning it, which is sort of how I've ended up website, email marketing, SEO, web design, all that sort of stuff. I do a lot of writing too. All that stuff. That's my primary career and what I consider to be my main profession. But like, I've always liked the idea of doing something with martial arts to earn money, as opposed to spending money on it, if nothing else, just to fund itself. And cage fighting is an option. Because like, even in the amateur, because like the way they define it really, the way they define amateur and professional, kind of ambiguous, because like, it doesn't really have governing bodies as such. It just has promotions and events that like people decide how important the event is. Like the UFC is still a promotion, but they've just put enough money into it and built it up enough that it's like a really important one, and people put that as like the pinnacle of MMA. Kind of like the opposite of the heavily graded system that Taekwondo is. And people have a lot less debates about what's right, just like my MMA coach describes it as inducing the most blunt force trauma as you can in your opponent, which, you know, it really just is. And yeah, so they define amateur by like, so they have white collar, which is what ultra MMA is, which is what I started in. And that's like, I would say that most taekwondo competitions in the UK are white collar by default, in that everyone has to go to work the next morning. We don't want anyone getting too hurt. We don't want any like crazy injuries that's going to put you out of work and you can't earn money for 3 weeks, you know, like stuff like that. And then amateur is like, okay, we're going to be serious now. Less restrictions on the rules. Less like we can do some knockouts. We can do a submission. We can do all that. And then you may get paid from a commission of tickets or merch that you might sell if you're able to develop a bit of a following. I've got a window behind this now, not a straight wall, by the way, so this is why it's all billowy, if anyone's curious. I use it like a curtain. But yeah, so in my opinion, if you're a musician and you go touring and you sell tickets for your tour as a musician, then that makes you a professional musician. But for some reason in the fighting world, they call that being an amateur. What makes you a professional is if you get paid a purse, is what they call it, like a lump sum of money. And purses typically come in an appearance fee and then like a win bonus or prize money. Like, I think amateurs are still prize money because that's technically like you're not being paid to fight, you're just being paid if you win. That's like something that some promotions offer as a prize in cash. But like if you have a contract to fight and you get like 7 and 7 or something was an example I heard recently, so maybe that's like, I think that's a higher than average amount to be paid for a purse for like a new entry level pro fighter. But if you get paid a purse and then a win bonus, then that's considered professional. So like technically speaking, I might be going into amateurs like this year or early next year, depending on how my schedule looks and training goes. And you know, if people actually complete the conversations that we've been having. Technically that would make me an amateur MMA fighter, but like in terms of finances, if I'm getting paid, I would call that being a professional, but I'm not going to be a pro fighter. But it's an option, is my whole point here. It's suddenly become an option as a taekwondo martial artist. Yeah, so I keep saying I'm not going to talk about this stuff until I finish my brew and my snack, and then here I am talking about it. But I'll read through the documentation that I wrote shortly. In the meantime, let's see if anyone has actually noticed that I've gone live. Let's see. I can set up like notifications to automate through my Discord server. I wish I could set one up for my stories. I know I can with my Stream Deck, but I just haven't yet. I'll probably make time to do that soon. This is actually my lesser channel. I only have like 40 subscribers on this channel at this point in time because I have not been uploading to it for far too long. I've not uploaded to it consistently. I haven't been uploading shorts to it or anything, so the growth has been considerably slower. I've not cross-posted on any other platforms other than my own Discord server for this one. My other channel is like halfway to the monetization threshold, I would say. So still not like immaculate, but I was much more consistent on uploading to it. And I'm quite gutted that I've taken functionally 5 months off against my will. But I was expecting to feel a lot jankier coming back in front of the camera. But I feel so much better. It's really cathartic. I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm really happy right now. And that makes me feel good. I think it helps that I'm enjoying the angle I've set up because in my previous place, I didn't have as much space for my office. It was a very tight, confined corner area. My bed was pressed up against my chair. It's literally scraped to fuck on the back of the upholstery because it kept running across the footboard. Whereas now I have like an office section, and then a bed section, and then a sort of dressing area, getting ready section with my wardrobe and my vanity, and then my bathroom. So it's very functional space. It's a long space. And because I was so confined in where my desk had to be, I couldn't pull it away from the window. So my camera was pressed right up against the window, like touching the glass immediately above my laptop. But now I can pull the desk forward a little bit because it's just like my door back there. I can pull my desk forward a little bit so I can push the camera back and I can now frame it at an angle, so I'm not getting a straight on like flat face eye angle. I feel like I really like this angle better, and I can fit my microphone beneath me instead of up right here blocking my face, and I can like actually utilize my desk more. Feels really good. I'm really happy with it. The one thing I'm really not happy that I've not completed yet is getting my lighting set up, because I wanted to put my last IKEA pegboard up on my display before that's like locked, and then do the lights around it. And I haven't swapped my white light bulbs that are overhead for my Govee light bulbs, because I only have one so far. I'm trying to get enough points on my Govee Insider account so I can just get a free set of bulbs, but I'm only about halfway through on the points, so it's going to be a bit of grinding for that. I might just have to pay for it, but we'll see. Do I have my Govee Insider linked on my thing? I don't think I do, but whatever. If I can get enough Govee points, I'll get free light bulbs, and then I can make the background more purpley and branded. But once I set up my Govee lights, it'll feel more like my space for vlogging. But even though it's not, I have to tell myself all the time, it's not about perfectionism. But even if we're not perfect, something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing all the time. And I feel like this does look nice. This is enough personality in the background. This is not like a white blank thing. Annoyingly, you can't see most of the medals on the pegboard right now, but I have got just about enough that you can see the lower half of where they're all going to be. And then over time, as my awards continue to come in, then it will fill out, and that'll be a nice little progress thing for a way of time stamping my content. But I feel like this angle is a lot more flattering, which is really nice. My tea is starting to go cold, so I should check this. Don't know what to do with my door, though. Door still lacks any personality. Make recommendations on what I should do with my door in the comments, because, you know, it still has to be functional, but I want to put something on it. I'll probably end up putting, like, a poster or something on it, but, like, that's kind of bland. I want something multi-dimensional, but still flat. I'm really hoping the background noise isn't too prominent here, because I do have my window open because I wanted the nice airflow feeling. But I know when I go and edit this later, the background noise is going to be like, oh, da, 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 and I'll have to be like, can never do that again. Or at least not in the daytime. I say that, there's people like screaming from the pub like around the corner at night as well. Don't dox yourself. Nearly did. Nearly described nearby area. Don't do that immediately. We have stalkers. Last bit of cake. Oh. I know, like, people are obsessed with salted caramel, even though I'm not really a fan of salted caramel. But, like, the little dose of salt in contrast to the sweetness really, really does hit a mark, you know. Yeah, it's so bright. You really can barely see the purple on my lamp, which is still in the same place it always was in relation to my desk. But oh well. Do I have one more sip of this? I feel like after the salt blast, I want one more sip. Ooh. Oh, squeeze the tea bag for that one. Okay. Move the little bowl out the way. It's up there. I feel like I'm gonna have to move those notebooks. I feel like it just doesn't work for the space. You know, behind the backlight, like it's just kind of collapsed down. I feel like I'm gonna move those under the bed. I only keep those up and out of there because I thought I would be making more videos based on my notes from like my college days, but like even though there's really not any information in there that's become wrong, it's just, you know, outdated information. It's like there are so many more relevant things to discuss. So I might put those away, and then I can run the string of lights underneath, and then it'll be in frame, and I feel like that'll work a lot better. Yeah, so I am going to talk a little bit about angel investing. Let me just make sure I can get the right tab on this. So I'm not streamed in ages, so I'm all out of whack with my scenes. What have I got? R10 in Safari. It's my DebDab digital frame, but quite frankly, I'm not too bothered about it right now. Wait, do I have any? Webcam DebbersDo? No, that's not gonna work. No. Main screen. Can I just do the screen share? Properties. Cancel. Okay, yeah, sure. Save the settings, whatever. Safari. There we go. Okay, yeah, you can see my face now. It was really bothering me that you could see my face. Okay, yeah. So I looked for all that sort of stuff, and I was like, this seems legitimate. This seems like a new business that is looking to genuinely, sincerely help people. And how the structure works, like we'll go into the page of how it works, but how the structure works is you do have to pay to submit an application. I think it's like a $5. I can't remember now. I think it's like a $5 to submit an application. And I had a screen recording of how my application actually went. I can't show it to you now because like we're live and I have my literal address and contact details and stuff and my bank information on there. But I recorded it, so I'll, like, if I do an edit of this, I'll show it in the edit. But it's like you go through, you add all your information, and it has a form to fill out, and most people just fill out a paragraph. I filled out like a 14-page document and then linked it in the box. But like some people don't put as much preemptive effort in as I do, so to make sure that it's a legitimate candidate who's not just chancing it. To make sure it's a legitimate candidate who's not just chancing it in order to get some fun money for whatever they felt like they'd do on a whim, you know, like pretend that they're a skydiving professional and then just want to go on a holiday. To do that, they make you pay like a $5. It's like a token amount. It is like it's like a pack of cigarettes. I don't smoke. I don't know. That's my example. But it's like it's a monetary value to prove that you're seriously aiming for sponsorship, but it's not going to bankrupt anyone. Like the sort of people, like they even have a category where it's like for just legitimate living expenses that you can apply for sponsorship for. If you need to apply for sponsorship for just your living expenses, putting in another $5 at that point really isn't gonna make or break you, you know? You're kind of already broke, whatever. So that's it. And then there's no fees for the investors to apply because all the money that they give should go to offering the investment, right? The voting thing that I'm doing, it does require a 50p fee for someone to vote. You can vote more than once, but it's 50p per vote, and that's to prevent bots spamming it, which is like thing. So people would say that these are all red flags and oh my god, they're trying to scam you, they're not trying to give you money, they're trying to take your money. And like in most things that philosophy stands true, because it's like a modeling agency who want you to audition, but you have to pay them to audition because you have to pay their photographer, so we know that you can work with their photographer. That's trash. That's bad. Don't do that. But I've equally seen models go for angel funding and get genuine investment so they can afford to go to more auditions and work less shifts so they can actually pursue their passion. And like I think that's genuinely really good. So I feel like if people believe that too, because the second I followed it, a few people who follow me suddenly got it in their algorithm, and then like they followed the funding thing. I find it interesting that since I got into MMA, I followed some of the local MMA fighters who are ladies in the area, because like I'm just trying to find someone who's in my weight division, frankly. Very few of those about. But it turns out that some of them also follow angel funding, and I'm like, did they apply? Did they get funding? I'm curious. Let's chat. But yeah, so homepage, angel funding. Each week, we match applicants with funding from private sponsors. You can apply for sponsorship from anywhere in the world for free in just 2 minutes. I don't know if it said that when I applied. I applied in January. It could be that it's free to apply and then you can buy the upsells. And basically, it's like the upsells are sort of like, one is like the preference leaner, and then the other one is like social media marketing. Let us use your image. And basically the reason behind that is because if they have multiple people who are eligible for funding under a certain criteria, then they have to find a way to pick a best one. And instead of just going back to your base application, then they'll look at who cares more via finances in one way. But yeah, they sort of say that if you haven't heard back in 2 weeks after your application, then just assume that you didn't get it. And I applied in January, so I assumed I didn't get it. And then they've got some reviews of people who have received sponsorships this month, and they've talked about the actual value amount. I feel like the fact that it's not rounded amounts actually makes it seem more legitimate. because it's like they have the investors who are like partners, and then they have a little pot of money, which I imagine is accumulated from all these extra fees that they charge people, like the voting fee, the preference in your application fee. I feel like that just sits in a little pot and then they give that out to other people, which is good. So if you're lucky enough to actually be accepted for sponsorship, then you get your money back. Note, while we endeavour to support as many applicants as possible, we cannot guarantee that all applicants will be successfully matched with sponsorship. This website definitely used to say like 95% of applicants get sponsorship, so I feel like they've actually grown and their marketing strategy is working, and therefore they're having to become more exclusive, which lends itself to the point of what I was saying about you want like a less saturated place to apply to. And then more testimonials. Premium sponsors, I imagine, are people that they have had people create partnerships with. So these are relatively small businesses. They're not claiming to work with Disney and stuff, but like international shipping, health, beauty, well-being, SPS. I don't know any of these brands, but this sort of mind easers, I feel like that one was not on the website last time. I feel like this almost proves that working with people who, like, as a small business, you think sponsorship, oh, that's like, it doesn't really achieve much, it doesn't amount to anything. I know a taekwondo athlete who is sponsored by the local chip shop. And, like, I wouldn't have heard of that chip shop before. I don't know how much benefit it is to a localized business to sponsor an athlete who travels internationally, because that they're not going to interact with a lot of people who are going to have the opportunity to come and partake in your trade. That's a question you have to ask yourself. But a lot of these seem to be e-commerce or online platforms. So if you're a small business and you want to get more sponsors, look into angel investing, stuff like that, or directly sponsoring an athlete that you have a personal relationship with. Very common strategy. It's just when most people do that directly, they go, oh, let's sponsor an athlete and we'll give them a shitty duffel bag that's going to fall apart in 10 minutes and doesn't meet the needs of what they actually need to transport, but we stuck our logo on it, so, you know, you should do that. Or, like, wear it on our jacket, or wear a patch on your dobok, and then, like, we've sponsored you. But, like, they won't pay you cash to do the things. So I feel like that's just a sense of entitlement in a way. And then they feel entitled to use the content that you shoot while you're there as well, which is a whole other discussion. That's the footer. So yes, how it works. I've sort of already explained how it works, but we'll see how they explain how it works. Angel funding is the revolutionary sponsorship program which can provide you with the funding you need to reach your goals. Apply for funding. Individuals and organizations who are in need of funding across any of our 9 support categories submit an application via our online application form. Or if you're a sponsor, businesses and individuals, angels, register as sponsors or make contributions to us for the specific categories they wish to support. So it doesn't just go into a random pot, they tell you what you want it to do. I imagine if you want to have a partnership, then you can have a one-on-one conversation about exactly the sort of person you're looking for, and then they'll probably go deeper into the profiles to look for them. But I imagine that would become, is it worth our time, cost threshold. We match you. We match applications directly with a suitable sponsor or with funding available from sponsorship contributions. And then you receive funding. If we have available funds from sponsor contributions which match your application, you'll be offered sponsorship from Angel Funding. If we have a suitable sponsor who can help, we'll contact you and ask you if you'd like to be connected with them, which is the call I'm still waiting for. Value of funding. There is no minimum or maximum value of funding which can be applied for, and we accept applications worldwide. I imagine that the less money you ask for, the more likelihood you have of receiving it. I was asking for a lot of money, and I gave options of different things they could support to give me money about, which we'll get into when I read my document. So I know that the likelihood of there being a perfect sponsor who's just sitting waiting to do that was pretty low. But that was why I put so much work into my application, because then it can be earmarked and set aside for when like a big daddy comes in. Our charges. There is no fee for submitting an application for sponsorship. We source our revenue from sponsorship offered directly to us from commercial and philanthropic sponsors. Please note, while we do our utmost to connect applications with sponsorship opportunities, we cannot, of course, guarantee that all applications will result in a successful match with sponsorship. And let's view the funding categories, because why not? Very basic website, but not poorly made. Yet to see any massive like font styling errors. You may only apply to one sponsorship category per application. Now, I applied in the... Where is it? Sponsorship for amateur athletes and sports people, e.g. sponsorship for amateur athletes and sports people of all disciplines. Not to be confused with funding for sports and social clubs, which maybe the gym that I train at could apply for that one. They also have sponsorship for tuition fees or training costs. This is for university, career development, educational resources, financing medical expenses, support with medical procedure expenses, ongoing health costs. So technically I could probably apply for that as a disabled person, because I was specifically told that, like, I'm not eligible for PIP. I talked to a charity about this, a legal charity. I'm not eligible for PIP because of how my condition is, like, inconsistent and depends on behaviors and is so circumstantial, blah, 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 blah. Even when they tell you, like, assume it's on your worst day. But basically, I can do, even though my sport and my athletic endeavors are at a very high level, and I'm capable of doing that stuff, it's my form of physiotherapy, functionally, because if I was just going to dose myself up with drugs or just live a sedentary, half-aware lifestyle, and my kidneys would be ruined, because, you know, chronic conditions. But the fact I can do that, regardless of if I'm KO'd, fucked, for, like, several weeks later, as a consequence of the whiplash of what I've just done, they don't care. So they switched from DLA to PIP to exclude people like me. So in theory, I could apply for financing medical expenses for, like, prescriptions and stuff. But I would have to apply separately from the perspective of being a disabled person in need of funding, to my applying as an amateur athlete who just happens to be disabled. You would frame it differently in the application. Personal financial sponsorship for cost of living support, household expenses, childcare, travel costs. I feel like that one, although one of the best categories, because people need that, I feel it would be the most competitive, because unless people, like, maybe people don't know that this sort of funding is available, but I feel like it'd be the most competitive, because how do you make yourself sound special other than everything's expensive? I can't, like, I've got no money, like, and think, if you're, like, trying to upskill yourself and you're like, I want to go to school to get a qualification that will let me enter this trade so I can go make more money. How is that separate from, I just need more money? You know, I don't know. I'm curious to, if anyone's done that, let me know. Support for the visual and performing arts, attending performances, training expenses, equipment purchases. I've seen people pay for their makeup artists at their modeling portfolio shoot with that sort of thing. Supporting community projects, promotional costs for fundraising, equipment hire, cost of services. So maybe putting on a little town fair or a block party. Support for disadvantaged individuals, support for mobility issues, learning difficulties, caregiving responsibilities. Actually, thinking about it, I know a lady who, there's other issues around this that it's not my business to mention, but she has a kid with special needs and he keeps destroying TVs, like, endlessly. She needs a new TV, like, every week because he keeps breaking them. Don't really know if phrasing it that way would get her the support, because it sounds like their money's gonna just not be worth investing for a solution, but, like, maybe that sort of thing for other people would be appropriate. And then investing in startup initiatives, setup costs, marketing expenses, product service development support. So that's basically new business funding. Whereas when I got my business started, DebbersDo Digital, I got a startup loan. This would be a grant. So you would essentially put forward a business plan. So yeah, then you can click submit your application. It takes you to this page. And this is the form that I had to fill out. So all these details, blah, 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 contact information. Is the beneficiary or blah, blah. Application title. And this is how if they email you, this is what appears in the header of the email. And I imagine that this is also what appears on the top of your profile. So make it very call to action-y, very, very bougie. I did a lot. The title of my document is the title that I picked, so I'll show you in a minute. Oh, I've got hiccups. So summary of application. This is like everything. So this is where people write their paragraphs, where they write their proposal. I wrote it in a separate Word document and then linked to it because I did like embedded formatting. I did I did HTML headings, really bougie stuff. So I linked the Google Drive link, Google Docs link, whatever. I linked it and put that there. And then I was getting kind of nervous because I hadn't heard back for a little bit. And I was like, this is a really good application. I put a lot of work into this and I paid. So like I emailed them and I was like, hey, just wanted to check that you received that because, you know, the formatting of it is like a little different. I know that you probably don't get a lot of those. And they said to me very specifically, oh no, that doesn't work. And in my head, I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't work? It's a URL. You like copy the characters and you put it into your browser and it will appear. I knew I had the privacy settings right. I knew that. Tested it with multiple people. But it turns out that like, it didn't hyperlink, basically. So I imagine that because it didn't hyperlink on their end of the form, because of how the web form processes, I'm uniquely experienced to know the entire workflow of that process, then I imagine that they just couldn't click on it and therefore went, oh, it doesn't work. But it's not that it doesn't work, it's that they didn't copy paste it. So I was like, oh, okay. So what you should do, if you do this for yourself, is you should export the document and then upload it as a file. And because the next step on this is the payment portal. So I had to converse directly with my point of contact to get her to add it to my profile on their end internally. And I also uploaded just some images. I feel like you can only upload like one image to this or something. So I sent it across in that format, and then she added it, and I was like considered in the following round of applications because of the glitch. I was like excluded because they couldn't see my proposal. They couldn't see why I was good. So I was technically considered for an additional week than most people would be, but I wasn't really. It was just a delay. And then I didn't get that round of funding, but I've had this email about this potential vote funding. So I imagine I was earmarked as, this is a good person, but not what we're looking for right now. How did you hear about angel funding? Instagram. Add your social media tags so we can connect with you there. I don't think they ever followed me back. I'm just going to say, I don't think they followed me back. But also they expect you to post on your Instagram account if you receive funding. So they need to make sure you have one. So if you don't have one for this, I recommend you make one, honestly. Yeah, terms and conditions, and then you click submit, and then it takes you to the payment portal, and then that's how that works. Apply for funding. If you require sponsorship from any of our 9 support categories, you can submit your application. Yeah, this is literally just what was on the other page, but isolated. Become a sponsor. What does this look like? Because obviously I didn't look at this. I didn't need to look at this. When you become a sponsor via the Angel Funding Program, you have the opportunity to make a hugely positive impact in the lives of others. Angel Funding allows you to direct your support exactly where you'd like it to go, whether that be an individual in need of funding, an aspiring athlete, a volunteer group with aspirations of improving their community, or a local school hoping to develop its facilities. But you don't have to be extremely wealthy to be an Angel Funding sponsor. If you're able to help in any small way you can, we'd love to have you join us. Please register below or be in touch to discuss your sponsorship criteria. I have never clicked on this button before. So they have a form that's very similar: name, email, phone. Are you a business or an individual or an organization? What categories would you like to support? So multiple. Further information may include information such as your motivations for sponsorship or specific philanthropic or commercial interests. So like, why do you want to sponsor someone? What's in it for you? And how can we meet that desire so we can get your money? Because remember, these guys are an agency, so they need to understand everyone's intentions, and you can have whatever intentions you want. You don't, like, you just be honest. Like, there's no point in like, oh, just say what you think they want to hear, because that sounds generic, you know? People like sincerity. Have you registered as angel funding sponsors before? How did you hear about angel funding? And then I imagine it takes you to a thank you for giving us your information page. And yeah, that's pretty simple. That's kind of what's FAQs? What FAQs do they have? I feel like I read the FAQs previously, but you know, it was in January. Things have happened since then. How do I apply for sponsorship? To apply for sponsorship, simply complete a 2-minute application form. You'll receive confirmation of your application via email, and we'll begin matching your needs with funding from our sponsors. Can I apply for funding from abroad? Yes, we are a UK-based service, but we are able to match applicants with sponsors from across the globe. Will it cost anything to apply for sponsorship? No, there is no charge to submit your application for sponsorship. Our revenue is sourced from philanthropic and commercial sponsors who support our platform via sponsorship. I understand why they don't put the potential add-ons in this, because you can need to, once you've enticed people that far in the process, they're kind of like on the last stage, so you don't need to. I understand it sounds like a red flag, so they would mitigate it. How do I become a sponsor? There are 2 ways in which you can become an angel funding sponsor. Firstly, you may register as a sponsor and be matched with one of our applicants, allowing you to arrange your own sponsorship agreement personally. This one is the one I kind of want, but I feel like they need a good sponsor for it, you know? They need like a heavy, like an ongoing, not scared of cash flow, multiple iteration ongoing sponsor. I literally gave options for one-off and ongoing funding, so like maybe they're just waiting for a really good one to turn up. So, you know, sponsors, If you don't want to converse with me directly, talk to the agency, but they will just tell you to talk to me directly, but whatever. Alternatively, you can sponsor angel funding directly and support the work we do. We discuss with you the specific category of applications you would like us to support, and we offer a variety of sponsorship options. Please contact us to find out more about how we offer your brand exposure through our sponsorship options. So there's been the list on the website. I don't know if they do a series of content on their Instagram about who their sponsors are, but maybe the premium sponsors can discuss that with them. Imagine there's also big networking events that I don't know about as someone who's not being a sponsor, because a lot of this stuff happens in enclosed rooms. How does angel funding source its sponsors? We approach potential sponsors who may be looking for commercial sponsorship opportunities, as well as those who would like to offer philanthropic support for specific causes. Sponsors are also able to register online via our sponsor registration form. How long does it take to receive sponsorship? Once submitted, your application is automatically uploaded and marked as active on our system. If we have sponsors or sponsorship allocations available which match your application, you'll be contacted with details of the sponsorship available. Can I apply for sponsorship more than once? Yes, however, your original application will remain active on our system for a period of 12 months from the date of submission. So if I haven't secured an ongoing sponsor by January, I'm probably going to have to apply again. And if I do apply again, may be based on if I get like this one-off sponsorship in the voting period in the next 3 days. But the fact that they did chase me up like 6 months later, kind of a good sign. Who can apply for sponsorship? We work with applications from a diverse range of needs and backgrounds. Our 9 support categories allow applicants to select a category their application falls into. I'd also like to point out that like when you submit your application, they say, is this your first one? So like when you go to renew it at the end of the 12 months, I imagine you can connect it to your existing profile, so you don't have to constantly re-summarize your entire history up to that point. You can just add to it. That's my assumption. How much funding can I apply for? There is no minimum or maximum value of sponsorship requests we accept in an application. However, it's worth noting that the higher value of sponsorship you require, the more difficult it becomes for us to source a suitable sponsor to support your needs. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to go back to full screen mode. Where am I? There I am. Hi. So I'm just going to be back here. And now I'm going to go through my application that I sent. And then I might share it in the screen in a minute, but let me get the sponsorship up. No, yeah, I'll show you briefly. Wait. Okay, right. So if I just scroll through, this is 14 pages, right? 14 pages. So I got photos here to illustrate it a little, break it up. We did some basic formatting, but it's a Google Doc, so you know it's not gonna be great. I did a financial breakdown at the end, and I'm gonna do a similar thing to this with my new one, where I've just done the structure, and I've got to fill out each individual segment. I was working on this until I got the email about the sponsorship, and now I've sort of pivoted to catch up on that. But I will just read this for you. I'm going to read this, and hopefully I end up with a nice bit of footage that I can cut together into a normal video. Right. And then back to this. And this is why we do the full screen, because I need to be able to edit this for a normal video. But yeah, so this document is entitled Georgia Debney, Martial Artist, Angel Investor Proposal. I don't think that was the full title, actually. What did I put as the full title? Maybe I came up with it later. Yeah, my actual application reference is titled Multi-World Champion Martial Artist and Content Creator Seeking Long-Term Sponsorship. So, summary of who I am and a call to action. So I sort of did that so I could be flagged as someone who is looking for a partnership. But I'm just eligible for this round of one-off funding as well, which is nice. Okay. So I segmented this into my background, my career, my training, expanding my skill sets, going international, and then the financial breakdown with options A through F. of how they could support me, because I gave them choices. If I'm paying to apply for this because I paid like the additional fees, then I'm giving them choices. I'm not doing a different application per option. Okay, so welcome, reader. Thank you for taking my proposal under consideration. I'm not sure how long the documents you usually receive are, but I have a reason to believe this will be longer than your typical candidate. I also fully believe it will be worth your time. Bear in mind, I wrote this in like 2 days. It was a bit of a fever dream, amongst other work. It was a very, very introspective moment for me. I made it in January this year, 2026. Yes. So my background. Providing some context to me as an individual, my name is Georgia Debney. I'm a 27-year-old woman based in Manchester city centre, UK. My career. I describe myself as a full-stack digital marketer with a content marketing specialism, including 14 years experience in video production. Primarily, I run my own business, DebbersDo, which offers content creation and digital marketing services to clients, as well as selling my own products via my shop page. Though most of my efforts go to producing content for my own brand, in order to generate ad revenue, I particularly focus on my YouTube channel and blog page, as well as cross-posting to other social media platforms. My other disciplines at this time include photography, content/copywriting, digital art, social media management, SEO, web design, e-commerce, PPC, email marketing, and product design. I'm a chronically online self-educator who can't be satisfied with good enough. I need to keep digging until I unlock an actual degree of competency. Now remember, I tried to keep my personality in this. Due to the natural instability of this work, I sometimes take on fixed-term contracts in a part-time employed capacity when I need a bit of a cash injection. Unfortunately, as most of my income is considered unreliable, and the fact I will soon be forced to move out of my current rental, I may be compelled to take on a full-time role that will disrupt my existing lifestyle. I prefer a greater degree of flexibility, so I enjoy taking on seasonal exam invigilation work at the Manchester College, where I used to attend and was awarded the Media and Visual Arts Student of the Year Award 2016. I believe I'm now going into my 3rd year invigilating, though I can't say I'm tracking that closely. They like to give me the SEND students who need special access accommodations, as I find working with those examinees very fulfilling, and I'm often complimented on my ability to communicate well with them. I also have another 0-hour contract where I act as a video operator, essentially managing Zoom calls for multi-billion-dollar American corporations and operating as a bit of a bouncer, as the information in these meetings is highly confidential. Though the non-committal nature of these roles are great for slotting in alongside my business, the last-minute nature of the shift pattern can be a bit disruptive to my business activities, and the inconsistent numbers don't reassure letting agents or mortgage advisors. Despite my high earning potential, the irregularity of my work often leaves me capped out in overall cash before I have to go back to draining my savings, meaning I can never feel truly relaxed. This all makes my living situation rather precarious at the moment. My training. I started Taekwondo when I was about 8 years old and trained consistently until around the time I took my GCSEs. I had 5 years out while I focused more on my education and chosen career field. I regretted the break, but I'm glad it happened in the end. I was due to take my black belt grading at the same time as my GCSEs and just got totally burnt out. But it helped me rediscover my passion for the art after learning what it felt like to go without it. It also meant my health began to decline enough that the symptoms I'd always thought were normal people things were exacerbated to the point where I finally got diagnosed with fibromyalgia and hypermobility, in addition to my existing psoriasis. This was around 2017-18. I was also diagnosed with osteoarthritis and de Quervain's tendinovitis in my right hand in 2025. I was only back at training for 5 months when I had my first competition as an adult. I won a gold and a silver medal at that event, got a bit addicted, and started competing on average once a month at Taekwondo competitions across the UK, with a few freestyle striking events for good measure. In that time, I won the International Taekwondo Council's Competitor of the Year award, leading to an invite to join their squad, of which I was a member for 4 years. I was invited to Olympic trials, a different style of Taekwondo though, so I didn't enjoy it and didn't pursue that. I studied Changhan style, Olympics is WT style. You know, for people who don't know about Taekwondo in the summary. And I only had a single competition where I didn't place on the podium. I'd like to think I could have pulled it back in the last event, but they had to cancel the end because they ran over, so we'll never know. I regularly win gold in sparring divisions, but have attained at least 1 gold medal in all events: sparring, patterns, special technique, destruction, and speed kicking. I do also have 1 bronze medal from a mixed gender destruction event. I don't pay much mind to sexism in martial arts as it's a needless distraction, but this feels like a good time to mention that I've trained with more men than women in my life. Though gender doesn't even slightly dictate ability, I feel compelled to point out that I would happily compete in sparring with men if it were permitted and accurately weight matched. Now, I felt the need to add this to my application because I feel like it's a nice point that would differentiate me from the other martial artists that they have given funding to, because the week I was applying I noticed that they had a lot of martial artists when previously they hadn't, and a lot of them were women, so I needed to differentiate myself in a way somehow. Having written that feels like an Easter egg for what's coming next. I'm a second dan black belt at the time. I'm a second dan black belt at this time and will be going for my third dan late 2026. Though the club I attend, SCN Taekwondo, is very small, I'm currently the second most senior, second only to my instructor. Though I don't accept formal instructing responsibilities, it's been made very clear to me that our colour belt members see me as a pillar to lean on. I also feel compelled to assist where possible at wider community events within my club's organisation, the Great Britain Taekwondo Federation, and the UK Taekwondo community by and large. These relationships have mainly been built through travelling to compete at my own expense, sleeping in disgusting cheap hotels, and crashing at club owners' couches in exchange for setting up the competition hall at 7 AM on event days, plus the odd bit of reffing, when I could be on the mats until 5 PM. Taking buses and trains for up to 16 hours, sometimes going further out of my way only so I could sleep over and get a lift to a more obscure location, or so I could get the cheapest travel. Getting travel sick so I could work on my laptop while in transit and tolerating practically non-existent internet connections. Trekking around with not just my martial arts equipment but film equipment as well, then trying to make friends at events where I knew nobody just so I could get footage of my fights. I have about a year's backlog of competition footage just waiting to be edited as soon as I get a minute to breathe. Hopefully soon. It never felt like an annoyance because it all contributed to getting to fight stronger opponents and meeting other people who felt as passionate as I did. I do have a few international connections in the martial arts world, though they're not very strong, and like the opportunity to explore that further and meet them in person. In the past year, I've tried to focus on expanding my local martial arts network here in Manchester. Despite the Team GB Taekwondo Centre being based here, the Changhon/ITF scene is rather small. This has led me to doing taster sessions with people I know in Muay Thai, boxing and kickboxing circles nearby. I've had some of these people guest on my podcast series With Respect. Now I'd like to use this new local network to launch something I call the Your Corner program. Essentially a short intensive scheme where I take on a single athlete at a time, not as their primary coach, but to provide specific competition training. Building their strategy, telling them what to expect in a competition environment, how to eat in the weeks before versus the day of the event, what little extra bits to pack in your bag for a fight day, and yes, some extra training too. I've done this successfully with one friend so far as a free test run, and they have put me in touch with a potential first client. I also enjoy weightlifting to the degree that I have a power rack in my living room as part of my home gym, which I sometimes stream workouts from. As well as just enjoying lifting heavy circles, I use strength training as my primary form of treatment for all my autoimmune/musculoskeletal conditions. My squat PR is 110 kilograms, deadlift is 105 kilograms, and my bench press is far less impressive, about 45 kilograms. My squat and deadlift have gone up since then. I think my bench press is lower. I'm active enough that government benefits like PIP are out of the question for me. I've been rejected and have even had a legal charity explain to me that I'm exactly the sort of person they eliminated DLA because of. All my conditions are chronic, so I want to avoid destroying my organs with a lifetime of painkillers that will leave me drowsy and sedentary. Intense exercise at the semi-pro level is physiotherapy for me. I need to spend multiple hours to get through a training session that could take normal people 45 minutes, or so I can live a standard day to day. All of this lives under the umbrella of DebbersDo, a more casual brand of mine that I use to document my martial arts/fitness experiences. I'm hoping to use this opportunity to leverage it into a secondary business as opposed to a stop-start hobby I fit around work. Expanding my skill sets. You can see on my DebbersDo YouTube channel that I coached a friend of mine to their first boxing win. and this friend decided they wanted to do something similar, but something that allowed more than hands only. They signed up for Ultra MMA, and I decided to take part with them too, since they offer 2 months of free training as part of the program, and I wanted to fill some knowledge gaps when it came to grappling. They have pretty much all the details available on their website if you want to dig into it, but it's essentially a beginner-friendly scheme where everyone trains at a local participating MMA gym a few times a week for 2 months, culminating in a big black tie fight night with hundreds of spectators and also media documenting it to be published online later. Participants are expected to fundraise for charity via their partner platform DebbersDo, with the aspiration to raise a minimum of £50 and then also sell tickets. If the athlete can't sell 10 tickets under their name by the second week of training, then they're taken off the board. I, however, have already compiled an email list of people from my network and beyond, where I will be providing regular updates once training commences, and I have no concern about my ability to meet these quotas without intervention, though I'd naturally always welcome greater contributions. And I did meet them on time. The first time. The second time I was a little late, but I sold more tickets. And also, I had multiple months to prep selling tickets for the first one. I had like a week to prep selling tickets for the second one, so. My charity of choice isn't finalised yet, but it's between 2 possibilities. Either a place I used to work as a digital marketer called the Anderton Centre, but that may not be possible due to some bureaucratic issues stopping them from getting on GiveStar, or Age UK Wigan, as my former boss from Anderton is now the CEO there and is excited about the idea of me running a boxer-size style class for them as part of a campaign. Both charities are focused on providing exercise and wellness opportunities to the disadvantaged and vulnerable in the community. Athletes are allowed to have up to 4 sponsors for the event. The standard recommendation from Ultra MMA is to request the sponsor donate £50 to the charity fundraising page in return for having their name read out during the walk-on. I think that's boring, so I'm in discussions with a few small businesses and organisations about expanding contributions and responsibilities. Unfortunately, none have solidified so far. And spoiler alert, none of them did, because of bureaucracy. I was nagging them, and a lot of people, everyone I was talking to was enthusiastic, but somewhere along the chain someone went, nah, can't be asked. Not even no sometimes, just no one's job to care. My biggest lead was the Manchester College, and I had great enthusiasm from the exam team I work with, but legal bounced back the proposal due to restrictions on only being able to offer donations to educational causes. I'd argue my pitch had multiple elements that were educationally beneficial, especially as the Anderton Centre is associated with the University of Greater Manchester, formerly known as Bolton University, but that discussion has been shut down as of now. My initial thoughts were to ask the college if they would be willing to cover the cost of new sparring equipment I need, since after 5 years of intensive use, my current set is falling apart and taped up, though I've already purchased the vast majority of it, so that would be on a reimbursement basis, and then I'd have appreciated it if I was permitted the use of the college's facilities so I could record content in a bigger space than my compact living room. I intend to make at least 1 video dedicated to each sponsor over the course of this program. Then I'd have links to all the sponsors in the description of every relevant post I make in the 2-month period. I'm happy to hear suggestions if sponsors have a concept they'd like me to consider for their dedicated video. Looking back now, I was really at my capacity, so I'm kind of glad I didn't have to do that, but like that was the intention, and I would still like to do that going forward. Now I am not trying to actively do boot camp while moving house. And I have a lot of furniture. I also had an idea that is a little less conventional. I'm already in discussions with one brand about possibly releasing a line of martial arts inspired gym wear that I design and then manufacture. But there's a more unique product I've wanted to release for a few years now. I just didn't know how to go about producing it. The item is a breaker board holder that, instead of needing a huge metal stand, can be mounted on weightlifting racks with a standard J-hook type gym pin, allowing a more lightweight option for martial artists who want to train destruction without needing a partner that may risk injuring. I do have a few blacksmith friends I've discussed the idea with, plus a connection who is very reputable in fabrication manufacturing, who may have a viable option for long-term production. Regardless of the organisation I end up making my manufacturer for the long term, it might be possible to have some engineering, fabrication or welding students, whatever seems most applicable, work with me to create the prototype. I could then take this prototype to the manufacturer to work from. In an ideal world, I'd suggest all parties work together to create a work experience opportunity for the students. Here's the link to my landing page where I'm collecting emails of those interested in updates leading up to the Ultra MMA event. It contains the date and location for the fight. Those who sign up for updates will receive them over the course of the MMA training period. Going international. As I grew up in a financially disadvantaged home, I never really got a chance to go on many holidays when I was younger. Those I did get to experience were few and far between. They tended to be basic British seaside trips centred around my sister's dance competitions before my mum had to focus on becoming my dad's carer. Obviously, I enjoyed that time, but it didn't touch the urge for adventure that just kept growing bigger and bigger. Since I came home from my taekwondo break, I was very focused on building my career and solidifying a reputation in the UK taekwondo community. Though I've collected medals from the majority of the landmass, with still a couple of gaps to fill around the Highlands and the east of England, I have got some from Lincolnshire now. I have never competed abroad. I originally joined the ITC squad as it was promoted to me as a way to have our competitions funded and be taken abroad at the NGB's expense. It was a relatively new team at the time, so though I'd proven my ability as competitor of the year, the squad coaches were reluctant to organise such a venture until the rest of the team was placing consistently. I didn't waver and attended training most months despite the locations requiring relatively expensive travel on top of the session fees. That was in addition to competitions we were told about regularly with less than a month's notice. It also ended up going from "we pay for everything" to "we will reimburse your entry fees for the events we host and our partners." I remained consistent for years in spite of feeling like I wasn't getting what I was promised out of this relationship, as I had strong emotional ties to my team, but I eventually decided I had to go independent. The final push being that my financial situation had become fragile. It's a good thing I did, as by the end of that time, I was down to my last month of emergency fund, which wouldn't have been there if I'd kept up with squad expenses. So having felt a little jaded by the promise of international travel, I decided I was finally going to make this happen for myself. I have a holiday fund I've been building up at a snail's pace since lockdown. It was originally intended to go to Okinawa and ideally an extended tour of Asia, where I could hopefully stop in Korea to be a taekwondo geek for a bit. But I've come to accept that at the pace I was going, I wouldn't be leaving the UK for several more years. So I dipped into this fund to take myself to Belgium next month in January, so February. I chose Flanders Fields because this is a very popular first foreign competition for British taekwondo athletes. It's close enough to home. I can use this opportunity to teach myself how to travel internationally with low risk, and most importantly, they offer unique medals. At this point, I primarily choose my events to avoid duplicates on my trophy shelf. Hopefully, I can use this as a springboard to expand my foreign network, and I'm insanely excited to vlog the trip. Since I had to put a hard stop to competing around October last year due to equipment falling off me from wear and tear, I decided to splurge on a total gear update that is uniquely on brand. That way I enter the dojang at Dineka with complete main character energy. You'd be shocked how hard it is to find purple sparring gear that meets taekwondo regulations. Very few brands manufacture open hand gloves and helmets with crown coverage in colours outside of black, red and blue. So this was a months long endeavour in itself. Plus an even longer fund for my kit bag. I'm talking too much now. Plus an even longer hunt for my kit bag that stores my regular gear, my backup sets in case of reg variations, my vlogging equipment, and can still act as a suitcase for clothes and all other bits that come with travelling. It was inevitable I'd have to check a bag, so I didn't compromise. After a failed attempt from AliExpress, which lied about its size and has since been delegated to the MMA kit bag, I splurged on a medium-sized dream duffel. This monster was designed for dance competitions and works as storage, a travel wardrobe, and a functional base camp at event venues. I spent about 4 hours live streaming a total kit show and tell, and I can't wait to release that cut down. Still can't wait to, especially because the live stream kind of failed for a reason. Just this one event has been a very costly venture for me. Luckily, most of the expenses were one-off purchases that are expected to last me between 5 to 15 years, but even just the travel and hotel costs has left a dent in what has taken me years to set aside. I can only imagine my wanderlust is going to get more ferocious after February, so I'm looking for a partner that is equally as keen to find international recognition while still allowing me to maintain my independent voice and brand tone as a martial artist and content creator. And then we get into the financial breakdown. Below, you'll find the costs of the different sponsorship options I'm proposing, though it would naturally be wonderful to find a sponsor who wants to take up every option. I'm also open to entering into discussions with multiple investors who wish to pick and choose how they would like to support me. Option A, Ultra MMA costs. As detailed above, taking part in Ultra MMA training is free, but they do require you provide some equipment for yourself in order to train within their safety regulations. This is different to Taekwondo regulation, so I needed to purchase new gear for this sport and a dedicated lightweight bag to take to the session. I was able to get most of these items with a wholesaler discount due to a friend's business account with the manufacturers. You know, show I'm frugal and not wasteful. Transport costs are approximate, as I will need to move house before the end of the training period and fight night. And then, I'm not going to read the whole graph out to you, but the total cost everything came out to £342.54. Oof. And it was more than that in the end, because I did Shark Tank sessions, which is an independent fee directly to the coach, Brian, who hosted it. So more than that, actually, looking back. And I had to buy different gloves because my gloves ended up not being the regulation they wanted in the end. And I had to get different clothes because my training clothes were not appropriate for MMA, because I had like my dobok, which I knew wouldn't work, but I also had like my gym sets, but they were mainly skirts, so that wasn't allowed because of excess material, so I had to buy more clothes. So like more than that. At this point, I'd estimate it was closer to like 550 or 600. I don't know. I've not done the maths on it. Okay. Option B, Flandersfield costs. As detailed above, these costs include the amount I've paid for a kit to replace my worn-out default set, new luggage I can use over the long term, and one-off costs for this specific competition. The shipping for the headguard appears excessive. This is because the headguard, kick boots, and open palm gloves all came from America. It was cheaper to have the items delivered to a friend of mine in the States, who then bundled them to send on. I've attributed this cost to the headguard. Due to the per-event payment structure of this competition, I intend to enter into individual sparring, destruction, and team sparring if I can be placed into a team, as I will be traveling alone. I've scheduled this to be a 5-night, 6-day trip, with the first 2 focused on the competition itself and the remaining days centered around content creation and tourism. Which, like, I'm so happy with how that went. When I can actually... Oh, hiccups. When I can actually get the series out, I'm gonna be so happy. Like, I was debating, like, how many videos does it warrant, and I feel like it should just be a separate video a day per day of the trip, because, like, it's just a lot. That was a lot. But it was so great. Cost more money than I estimated for this, which I wrote down as £1,441.98. It cost more money than that. Oh, just thinking about how much I've spent. Oh my god, like being an athlete, like this isn't even me being a pro athlete. This is me going as like an independent, I'm gonna say amateur taekwondo athlete, because like that, but that term kind of like means things that in the MMA world that it doesn't mean in the taekwondo world. I've always just described myself as semi-pro, because like I've never had people pay me to do martial arts, but I have had people pay for me to do things at times. So like not sponsorships per se, but like people paying my expenses that I didn't cover. So yeah. And also, a lot of people are going to be like, why do you have to get purple everything? Why does it have to be like the weird gear from America and Australia? And it's like, for the brand, do you know the best fighters? They're not just good fighters. They're successful because they've built a brand. Like Helena Jiu-Jitsu girl, she's coming up right now. She's doing really great because she had the twin pigtails and she always has the long rash guards. She's a nice heavyweight woman who wears long rash guards, which I think is actually less... I don't know how that's comfortable for her, because I hate the feeling of restriction that gives me, but like it works for her and she has this aura about it. Paddy the Baddie, that's a whole thing. People who get somewhere in the fighting world also have a brand. And I have literally aura farmed people into like refusing to fight me multiple times. Like, it's a thing. So it's very important. And I feel like business people who are trying to sponsor athletes understand that. Option C, future one-time competition fees. As hypothetical future events are difficult to account for, I would estimate costs to be in the region of £1,000 for European competitions. Those further afield would probably end up closer to 2k plus. This option is likely best suited to a sponsor who wants to build a long-term working relationship and is able to advise on a case-by-case basis. Events local to the UK can be as cheap as £150 if they're close to Manchester, to maybe £500 if they require major travel and 2 nights away. I would like to aim for at least one competition a month with international travel on a quarterly basis at minimum. Option D, ongoing training financial support. This option is for those who want to contribute to the monthly costs of my regular training. Though I do have a home gym, my limited space does mean it would be preferential to maintain a gym membership as well for access to a wider range of specialized equipment, plus wellness facilities that help my chronic medical conditions like a pool, steam room, sauna, etc. I currently get by on using friends' guest passes when they occasionally have one spare. Travel expenses are approximate, as I'm regularly able to get lifts to class from my clubmates. I get the train and bus when that isn't possible. My rail card makes this 1/3 cheaper. It would be nice to finally offer them something for the favour though. The squad training sessions I now sometimes attend are run by the same coaches as the ITC squad I was a member of. They have recently detached from that governing body to form their own CIC called UK Taekwondo. I no longer attend every single session as I'm no longer a member of the team, but I'd like to visit other organisations' training as a guest on months I don't attend there. The variety in training partners gives me substantial advantage over other competitors and is invaluable to my progress, especially when you consider the fact I only have one of a black belt to train with at my club currently. And obviously this is a monthly cost, but I totaled it out to £171.23. Which is across all my membership fees and travel and such and such. Didn't even go into nutrition and food on this one. That's like a whole other battle I wasn't ready to maths out in this. Option E, ongoing training / lifestyle stipend, although I guess the food kind of comes into this one. This funding option is definitely the most valuable to me, not in the sense of money, but for peace of mind and stability. I often find myself being dragged away from something I want to do, like training for several more hours that day or sitting down to monologue about the latest event I attended to illustrate all the footage I got while I was there. I have to set those things aside so I can prioritize earning guaranteed money. I'm presently in a position where my current flatmate does not wish to renew the tenancy in our flat with me. This is my ex-boyfriend, who's an absolute prat, but we won't talk about that right now. Didn't write it in the document. Since the Manchester city centre property market is so wildly competitive, my landlord has adopted a policy that will mean I'm forced to move out as well by the end of March 2026. The current structure of my income doesn't bode well with letting agents or mortgage advisors because I don't earn a set salary. I have a collection of micro incomes that fluctuate on a month-by-month basis. I could earn so much in a quarter that I wouldn't need to earn for the remaining 9 months of the year in order to pay my bills, and then I might not earn even half of what I need in that time. So I find myself constantly fluctuating between strictly budgeting to my bare minimum lifestyle and stacking cash back into my savings account to recoup what I spent. I can never feel secure enough to pursue my goals with 100% commitment. I never doubt my ability to earn money, but I equally don't feel safe at any point. This is something I can't say I've truly resolved, but feels less stressful now I'm moved. This is on-again, This on-again, off-again pattern strips me of a consistent training schedule outside of locking off Sundays as the Taekwondo day, and it means I'm constantly having to get over the hump again and again instead of stacking my progress towards the excellence I have always displayed. I get my results, but it feels harder every time as I have this perpetual feeling like the world could end at any moment. So instead of scheduling another podcast shoot or heading out for a pad work session, I'll be sat at my desk trying to slot in the third interview this week for a job I don't particularly feel would be great for my long-term goals amongst my client work, invigilation shifts, and online compliance training modules I completed this same time last year. The constant code switching is exhausting, and it feels like by the time I've completed all that and my chores, then the day is entirely gone. I ran out of time. Guess we'll sleep and try again tomorrow. Because if I don't secure some income I can use as evidence that people with lists of checkboxes can actually trust, then I might be homeless in a few months. Then where will I be able to use my barbell set or store my studio equipment? You know? So I'm asking that a reliable sponsor sees the value in what I've built over the course of the past 2 decades and is willing to support me enough so as to allow me to do even more for myself and the martial arts community worldwide. I'd like to be able to focus my energy without the risk of the rug being pulled out from under me while I turn consistently growing brands into consistently profitable ones, all while feeling that sense of freedom I get when I step onto the mat and my only thought is to kick someone in the face. I'd like to propose a sponsorship model where, in addition to providing a monthly stipend to cover my base living expenses, we also enter into a merit-based bonus structure. This would introduce additional funding for each medal I earned in the previous month. I would like to request a commitment of a minimum of 6 months, as this is typically the shortest term tenancy a landlord in the area is willing to accept, but longer would be preferable, as I would ideally like to be able to purchase a home for myself in the coming year instead of remaining in the rental cycle. Obviously rental regulations have changed this as well since I wrote this, but like it's not an invalid concern still, and I would still like that structure where there's like a guaranteed minimum so we know that I can live and we can get on with it, and then, you know, bonus for performance basically. So for this one, I am actually going to break down the pricing structure that I proposed. So I put minimum required amount, £1,500. Like, just that's total. I don't know about the taxability of this sort of thing. It would probably be taxable. Preferred amount, £4,000. And I can't remember how I worked that out exactly, but I did work that out on like what I would like to spend and invest and, you know, put forward for my future over and over. But £4,000. Gold bonus, £500. Silver bonus, £250. Bronze bonus, £100. And I still think that's a good structure for people who want to do it. Coming to the end now, option F, the final option I gave for people hoping to sponsor me long term. Content creation patron. I'm making this funding application under the athletes and sports people category, so this part of my proposal may seem out of place, but content marketing is the foundation of my marketing strategy for this personal brand. I use my professional skills to bring more attention to my sport. I love to the sport I love and my achievements within it, thus building authority and reputation in the sector. My podcast interview series With Respect has had great success in the first set of episodes, the premise being martial artists discussing things they wouldn't normally mention in the dojang for fear of being seen as disrespectful. These can be controversial topics or just stories that would be a distraction in the middle of a class. The format has proven very popular, with the number of views far exceeding the number of subscribers on the DebbersDo channel at this time. Still kind of small, but you know, I accept that. It's a newish channel with not as much consistency as I'd like. So I'm proportionately very good. This has been a bit of a soft launch, as I wanted to build a greater backlog of content before marketing the series on other platforms. Unfortunately, I've had plenty of potential guests show interest in featuring on an episode, but never prioritizing the 2-hour shoot in their schedule. I would like to be able to provide some form of financial compensation for my guests. They are essentially appearing as talent, and I think all parties would agree they deserve an appearance fee when, in the long term, I would like to generate revenue from these videos. Providing upfront compensation would also ensure a greater degree of commitment from those who sign up. I would like to be able to post 2 episodes a month, and I propose an appearance fee of £50 per episode, regardless of if the shoot is conducted in person or online. This would make the monthly cost £100 on average, depending on how much we batch the shooting sessions. Alternatively, I have an existing e-commerce storefront I use to manage memberships for my DebbersDo Discord server. This allows members to support my content on either a one-off or rolling basis, where they choose the value and function of their contribution and will receive a special Discord role in return. This patron role allows them to add events to the publicly viewable calendar, so members can promote their own competitions, seminars, or training to fellow members, amongst other perks. Sponsors are welcome to support me via this platform. And this is still a thing. This is still a thing. If you join my Discord server, then you can find a link to it. You can sponsor me independently. If you don't want to, like, overall, I would like people to go and vote for me so I can get this sponsorship through angel funding. But outside of that, if you want to sponsor me, like, the minimum amount is £1. You can sponsor me £1. Like, I'm not at the monetization threshold for this channel yet, but you don't need me to be at the monetization threshold to support me through my Discord server's storefront. So you can become a patron member and support my content, support my journey, just through that means. You can do one time or rolling, it's entirely up to you. You pick the amount, it's just a minimum £1, because after payment processor fees, then I would receive like maybe 50p if you send £1, so like that's up to you, but it's still a thing, and I would still really appreciate if people wanted to do that. Through Angel and then this is the last like closing paragraph I made. Though angel investment is typically a sponsorship structure that doesn't demand a specific ROI from the beneficiary, I'm more than happy to promote any brands I work with via my own platforms, as well as increasing the sponsor's touch points across my personal network. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day, George Debney. And then I put some emojis that I very commonly use in my content, in my brand. So that is the summary of the sponsorship application I made in January. Things have happened since then, and I'm gonna create a new document, so let me go back to sharing my screen. So again, this is the summary of the new document that I was writing for a different application until I got the email about this round of sponsorship funding for £1,000. I'm just gonna, like, it's £1,025.50 is what's open for people to vote for me, but I'm just going to say £1,000 for ease of it. So I got the email with 3 days warning that there's going to be a further 3 days of voting. So before the end of next week, a sponsorship vote opens on the 29th at 8 a.m. British time, and then it ends, I think, the 31st at 6 p.m. So that's the duration of the vote time. So like, I was writing this for another sponsorship application for a governing body that I'm familiar with and I'm long since associated with, for their grassroots fighter fund. So that's what this opening line is about. But I was writing this for another purpose, and then the sponsorship thing came up first. So I'm just mentioning this here because this is applicable to multiple types of funding. I just haven't finished writing it yet. But I've started off with, welcome reader. Thank you for taking the time to consider my application for the TC UK Grassroots Fighter Fund. If you're not familiar with my history as a martial artist up to this point, I'd recommend reading through this proposal, which is the one I just read out. I wrote for another organisation back in January. Some of my talking points today will detail how I achieved the goals set out in that document before explaining the purpose behind this submission. And then this is my structure for what I'm going to write out in a similar fashion. I expect it not to take as long because I don't need to do my entire life's history now. I've just linked to that document. So this is just my achievements and my like driving force between the times of January and now. It's like 6 months of time, basically. So this year's achievements, my MMA debut. So I did Ultra MMA. I won. I've got my picture up there, which you just barely can't see in camera, but I won. I've got my trophy there looking at me too. I'll show you. I can reach one of them. And I know that this is the one from the first one because I put them left to right chronological order because they're the same, and I can recognize the burn marks from the laser engraving. I'll put that back in symmetrical because I'm obsessed with aesthetics. But yeah, so I did that, and they had like 10 women take part in that one, and they had to matchmake me with a pro because like there was no one of my size and weight experience. So they matched me with a pro, and then I ended up beating her so viciously. Like, the video is available on YouTube. I've shared it previously on this channel. If you go on the Ultra MMA YouTube channel, then you can find it on the Manchester April 11th, 2026 playlist. And I believe it's the most viewed on that playlist. I'm actually gonna look now. I literally looked it up previously. But I think it's almost broke 400 views, which would be great. I was going to do a whole react video on this, so I don't want to show all of it. But I'll show you like a segment of it if it loads the playlist. Can I just search my name? Georgia Debbers. There we go. Here I am. Oh yes, it's 400 clean. We hit 400 views. So this was the most viewed on the playlist by like a long way. If I just click view full playlist, then we've got 261. Bear in mind, an Ultra video getting more than like 50 views is wild. Even though they have a lot of subscribers, most people don't have any incentive to watch them. 400 views for me. 267. 267. Let's see. Is that the most? 274. Second most so far. 270. Yeah. So I'm the most viewed video on that playlist by like more than a quarter, I'm gonna say. Not sure on the maths on that one, but yeah. And this is a pro that they matched me with. And well, I should mute it because I've not got my headphones on. But this is a pro they matched me with, and like, it turns out, because I did the second one, they had less women take part. They had 4 women take part, and there was no one who was really an accurate match for me in that one either. But the woman they originally matched me with, they put me with because she'd done a boxing ultra previously instead of an MMA one. So yeah, there I am. And there's this lady as a pro that they brought in. But originally, when we started the fight, she was literally, I hit her like one time, she's just like going, whoa, huh? Like, huh? The ref, I believe, they do, I don't know the ref's names. They told us, but like at the start of them talking, so, you know, it didn't really register, like, oh, we're listening right now. So they've told us, but like, this guy does loads of promotions around the UK. I've seen him on like loads of stuff I follow recently. And like, if you just wait, and if you go back on my first front pushing kick in the sparring, when we get to it, Are we over this way? Here we go. Okay. Look at his face. Just raises his eyebrows. And then if I go over to my last round, this guy is the ref who was the ref at my other Ultra MMA that I just finished like the other week. So like, there was no accurate match, and the lady that I was originally supposed to fight at the second Ultra MMA, we did the matchmaking, and then they announced that we were going to fight each other, and then I started warming up, because they don't tell you when your fight's going to be until you get there, because they want people to actually show up on time, so they purposefully keep the running order secret. But the first person who fights only has 15 minutes warning between finding out they're the first to fight and actually going and fighting. So I was doing like an early warm-up just in case, because I take a long time to warm up, and Taekwondo typically needs a long time to do warm-up stretches. But so she saw me doing my like early warm-up, and then she went off and she was like, I'm not going to fight her. I'm not going to do it. So I like aura farmed someone into refusing to fight me. She ended up fighting this pro who I beat last time. And then they're just talking amongst themselves like, oh my God, those fucking kicks, man. Like, oh, she's scary. Like, I didn't hear the whole conversation, but like, that was the aura I got and what people were telling me outside of me listening. So that felt really cool. But then I ended up fighting a lady who was like, she was a closer weight match to me, but she had no previous experience before this training camp of like 8 weeks prior. So I felt kind of bad for her about that one. It kind of eviscerated her. Even like talking to her beforehand, she was like, I'm just gonna have fun, I'm gonna enjoy it, I'm just here for my mental health. And I'm like, that is an amazing attitude to have. But also, you could still beat me. I could fuck up. Like, you could choke me out. I don't know. Like, we only did like one match of sparring at the matchmaking sparring event the previous week, and like, we didn't get a lot of time with each other. So like, she could totally still get me, and she got like a secret weapon I don't know about. But yeah, so like, the lady I was supposed to fight ended up fighting this pro who I beat. And I went and talked to her, and I was like, hi, how you doing? Really nice to see you again. I tried to get her socials, but I didn't have my phone, and I forgot it again. I forgot her name. Oh my God. I guess I asked for her last name because I couldn't find her, because they only give the first names of stand-ins on the sheet. And I couldn't find her last name. So get in touch with me. But she was really cool, and she was like, oh my God, your kick was crazy. And I was like, yeah, it really seemed like they didn't brief you on why you were there. And she was like, no, they did not. She went to my coach, Brian, afterwards, after this fight. And this looks like she took us down, but I took us down. And I had her head in the guillotine still the whole time, so I felt really good about that. But like, she went to Brian afterwards, and she was like, what the fuck was that? And he was like, it's just Taekwondo. But like, yeah, she does Taekwondo is different too. She is a 20 years experience second dan national, international world champion in Taekwondo. Like, it's different. But like, everyone's like, oh, like, why are you doing ultra hits for beginners? And I'm like, because I am a beginner at MMA. I am. I've done 5 months of MMA. And I had no experience with grappling before this fight. Before this fight, I did the 7 weeks of training and a rest week, and I was sick the week before my fight as well. So like, I hadn't gone to every single class. My attendance was really good. I think I missed like 2 classes in the first one, and the second one I think I missed like 4 classes for illness, because, you know, autoimmune conditions. But yeah, so I was a beginner at grappling, and I wanted to make sure I got more grappling shown in that, because in this first one we did stand and bang for like most of it, and then I wanted to make sure I got like some groundwork in, so we did takedowns basically in the last 20 to 30 seconds of each round. Basically round 1 and 3 I took her down. Round 2 she took me down because I accidentally I went to do an elbow, and then I was like, wait, no, elbows aren't allowed, so I cancelled the elbow, and it kind of just gave her my neck, and then she pulled me down. And then like, she had me in a choke, but I wouldn't let her get her hooks in. the footage is quite funny because you can just see our feet like sticking out. But from like my own angle that I got my spectators to give, you can see that we were fine. Like, I can't find the bit right now. I'm just gonna show you the last like flow sec, because I'm gonna do a full talk for this at some point, but like, I'm just gonna show you the last, like, when I got into my flow state. Basically it was like the last 45 seconds of the round of the fight. So like, we're going in, she gets a few returns. I believe she has a boxing base, so her hands are great. My nose was bleeding at this point. She hit me pretty hard, but the ref would have stopped it for most people, but I think he knew I could handle it. There's a point after I do a front pushing kick where like I really get into this. Okay, so like after this kick, I'm like on, like I feel amazing during this moment, and like she does get a few shots on me, but I'm going in, out, distance control, and then float, dodge that. She kept nailing me with a hook, and I dodged that hook, and then everyone is reacting. I've watched this so many times. I've looked at every single person's face reacting. And everyone's face is like, oh my god. And then I do that hook to the grab, and look, my other coach, Mike, he like looks at Coach Brian. Like, so the reactions I really want to laser in on. Right, so look at Coach Mike and Coach Brian first. And then you just look at him like, did you fucking see that? And then if you go back a bit, then the ref who ended up being my ref this month, like a couple of weeks ago, he ended up being my ref. He's like a 10-year UFC vet. I can't remember his name. He's like an Irish guy, I think. Or is it Irish? I don't know. His voice sounds either Irish or Scouse, and it's bad to say that, but they're like, historically they're linked. But he just sort of looks like duh. And on my other videos, you can see he's like really chatting, and he does like he sort of emulates my stance for a little bit. He's like, look, she's bouncing. I would love to know what he was saying in this moment. But he's like, look at how she moves. And it's like, da-da-da, bouncy. Da-da-da, da-da. See, yeah, look at her. She's moving. Da-da-da. Yeah, I don't know what he was saying, but like, he's recognizing my movement. I thought that was really cool. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Okay, yeah. So this is what I was doing basically the whole time. But yeah, so like after this one, so I did my MMA debut. I'm gonna summarize my MMA debut, and then I had a competition in between the two. So you can see my medals over there, my most recent medals, like the stripy ones, like the free matching stripy ones. I got triple silver at this event, but I went to the WMAC North Lincolnshire Championships, and I ended up, I signed up for light continuous sparring, because it's like a pay-per event one, so I signed up for light continuous sparring, and then MMA sparring. I think technically it's called MMA light at the event, but like MMA, because I wanted like a pressure test and stuff, and then I offered to help out, and because the guy who I'm friends with, who was organizing the event, is like the national forms director for the governing body or something, so he's really big into patterns and toll and forms and kata. He's a karate guy, so kata for him. But he was like, do you want to do a pattern? Do you want to do a pattern? And I was like, I don't really think I do want to do a pattern, you know? I was like, because I knew I had to get changed between my traditional and my rash guard, like modern fighting equipment for different divisions. And I was like, as long as I'm not going to be getting changed so many times. He lied. I did end up having to get changed like 4 times that day. 4 or 5 times that day, I don't know. But I had 3 divisions. I ended up having to get changed in for each individual division. But he was like, oh, do a pattern. So I got triple silver. But I was the only woman who signed up for MMA. Not the only woman in my weight division who signed up for MMA. The only woman who signed up for MMA. And there was a whole controversy. It was great. There was a whole like thing about it where people were complaining without ever talking to me about it. Yeah, so like they said to me before the day of the event, like a week or 2 before the event, they were like, we don't have anyone in your weight division or like anyone who's set to fight you. Do you want a refund? And I was like, absolutely not. Don't you dare refund me. Like, the only stipulation I put was I want, like, as long as they're close to my weight. Like, I train with guys who are like 30 kilos my heavier weight match, you know? 30 kilos heavier than me. And I still sometimes beat them. Like, no, it's a bit harder. It's a bit harder. But like, I can lift guys who are like 30 kilos heavier than me. I'm a strong woman. Strong, independent women. But I was like, as long as it's kind of a weight match, then like I'll fight whoever you got. And I ended up sparring a guy who, I think he was the bronze world medalist in MMA in their governing body at the time. And he was a really cool guy, gave me a good fair fight. Very pleasant to talk to. He did beat me. He got a ground and pound on me, and I had to say this for like the whole thing. So people made complaints and said it was unfair to me, and I'm like, guy, you don't know my credentials. And then I listed them off. I made a video response to it as well, because the event WMAC North Lincolnshire Championships, if you can even look it up still, it still exists. They did like a live stream, like going through all the complaints from the feedback forms that they requested people fill out, and they live responded to it. And then I made a video response for the comments, so people knew that he wasn't talking shit. To be like, no, it was my idea. And like, I didn't even get smoked. I had a fight with him. There was a back and forth of exchange. It was just that I bridged wrong. So instead of bridging laterally, you're supposed to grab someone's arm, pin it against your chest, and then you're supposed to roll to the side to bridge them and get them off of you and do a reversal of sorts. I just bridged upward, didn't trap the hands, and bridged upwards. So he just went from sitting on my waist to sitting on my chest, and now I have no leverage, and then I get ground and pounded. I did tap one time, and then I didn't tap this time. I think you get 2 taps in this rule set. You got 2 taps, and then they'll just TKO you. But I didn't tap the second time. They just decided to TKO me, which, like, that's fine. I wanted a pressure test. I got a pressure test. I feel like I still had a good fight. Got a silver medal about it. Qualified for the World Championships in Austria, which is where I'm planning to go in the future. Which is what I'm going to talk about later on in the document that I haven't written yet. Yeah, and then headlining a promotion. So I was talking about the running order. So the running order, I ended up being the last person in cage 2 to fight the lady Sinead, who I got rematched with on the day. They asked every woman in the venue, and like, this was the lady who said she would fight me, which like I really stan her for it. She's great. She said I offered her a discount because like I was gonna get her a drink at the bar. We were like, whoever loses gets bought a drink by the winner. But then, because we were the last fight, they were kind of kicking people out by the time we got to that point. So I didn't get to. So I was like, I'll give you a discount on training if you come to Salford MMA. I haven't talked about this yet today. So another thing that happened since I wrote that initial sponsorship proposal that has now come back to me. Since I wrote that, I finished my first Ultra MMA, and then I was like, I really like this gym. I really like it. I really do. Like, it's a great vibe. I like the coaches. I like the facilities. I like what's on offer. And I would like to start earning some money from martial arts so I can actually pursue my endeavors more effectively. They don't have a taekwondo coach. They don't have a female coach, which, although that is a USP for me in that environment, I hate the idea of being a women's coach, because women's self-defense doesn't exist. It's just self-defense. The sort of women who want to have women's only classes for self-defense are the sort of women who are scared of men. So in my opinion, you should train in a mixed gender class, make the coach aware that you're uncomfortable being partnered with a man, until if there's no other women in the class, then like partner the coach. That's sort of like a general safe thing, because they have to be DBS checked and stuff. That's normally a line that most people can sort of work themselves around. And then they should train near men until they feel comfortable training with men that they have now become associated with, and these are safe men that we've become familiar with, until you feel comfortable partnering with them. Because if you're scared about being attacked by a man in the street to the point that you want to learn self-defense, then when you are faced with a real self-defense scenario where you have to protect yourself from real danger, you're not conditioned, you're not aware, your body is like, this is the first time it's happening. We make people spar really early on, so like when you do spar, you're not like terrified about getting hit in the face, because you have to get hit in the face, and then your brain desensitizes to it. It's how it works, you know, exposure therapy basically. Obviously, like, you shouldn't do that with absolutely everything, but in this context, it absolutely applies. Because if you're going to be attacked by a man, and you've only been training with women, and you're scared of being attacked by a man, when you are attacked by a man, you're going to panic. You're going to forget all the learning you did. And you're not going to know how to apply it to someone who's probably much bigger than you, probably got different, like, leverage points. Like, and anatomically, not just the groin, but, like, women have, like, different hips and different ways of the body moving. It's just a thing. I do wonder how that applies to arm bars for a moment. But yeah, so I feel like women shouldn't do women's only classes, therefore me being a women's only person is like weird. And then they say that like, oh yeah, what about religious reasons? That's fine. I have no qualms about if you want to take a women's only class because you want to like not wear a hijab or a niqab or any kind of like, you know, modesty garment or whatever, fine with that. but in our specific environment in Salford MMA, we don't have internal walls, so it would just be a collection of women being uncomfortably stared at by men. Not that they would stare. There's very few guys out there who would stare. I don't think I can name more than a couple who would potentially do that anyway, but they're going to feel exposed because there's no segmentation in the building. It's just an internal gym. You have the reception and it's in the gym and it's open, so you can't have women's only class in that environment. But to that end, if women want to train with a woman, I'm here. So like that's a USP. I'm only doing privates right now, and I've got like a couple regular clients who are really cool. I also offer workout buddy sessions, which are not in the gym because I'm not a qualified personal trainer, and to use the gym facilities as a member, I can do that, but to use the gym facilities to train a client, I can't do that because I'm not a qualified personal trainer. And for the gym's standard practice, because I'm self-employed, it's like, because they're, you know, what's the word? Fact checking, legitimacy check, I don't know, there's a word for it. Due diligence. Due to the gym's due diligence, because I'm not a qualified PT, I can't take clients in that gym, but I have my own home gym, I have facilities, and I make it very clear in my onboarding documentation and all my marketing materials that I am not a personal trainer, but I am a very experienced athlete who has worked with many personal trainers who are qualified and picked up information over time, and it's been made clear to me by people who are personal trainers that if I just paid the amount and took the time to make the portfolio and do the coursework, then I could very easily qualify as a personal trainer if I just learned all the Latin names for muscles and ligaments and stuff. I'd like to do that in the future if I can, but for now I'm not. But I still take workout buddy clients, and I've got a couple of those that are paying me regularly, so like that's nice, but you know, we're not at the level yet where my client fees are able to pay all of my expenses, which is why we're all digging into sponsorship stuff. So if you would like to just be a client and train with me at Salford MMA or around the general Manchester area, then that's an option too. I have a special slot that's available for someone. If someone wants to basically do the ongoing, like, you know, monthly stipend model of sponsorship, but they also want to train with me too, then I have this model available for a single client, whoever it is, where I guarantee you a weekly slot every week. I will always be there at our predetermined location. You don't even need to communicate with me whether you're coming or not that day. I will just always be there. If you no-show, that's on you. But then also you have the option of adding to as and when, however you feel, flexible sessions in a week. And if someone is asking for that slot and you're asking for that slot, then I'll prioritize you. I wouldn't like reschedule pre-booked slots for people, but like if you want like this special prioritization client thing, then you can pay like the monthly amount for me to feel stable, so I don't have to go and pursuing other clients, so that allows me to keep my books more open. Then that's something that you can contact me about on my, either in the comments section or on DebbersDoofficial@gmail.com, because I don't currently have a website properly set up. I have my landing page, which I will put in the comments. Actually, I will put that in the chat. Where is it? Yeah, so it's DebbersDo.mailerlite.io, because it's just currently a landing page for email marketing signups, but I'll put it in the chat. There you go. If anyone wants to purchase some training from me, then that's an option for Taekwondo or for general striking martial arts stuff. If they want to expand into that area of MMA, maybe you've done jiu-jitsu before and you want to expand into more striking stuff to level out your abilities, like how I did the reverse, then that's fully an option you can do. And yeah, how long have I been live for? Like 2 hours now. This is really long. I talked so much longer than I expected to. But yeah, I feel like I've covered a lot of stuff there. The last thing I'm going to go into is I'm going to show you the rules and regulations for my sponsorship bid. So where am I showing my screen? Let me get the email up first and then I'll share my screen. Where am I? There we go. Voting around. Okay, right. Safari. There we go. Okay, so this is my email from Angel Funding. I got it a day ago, roundabout. It says, "Hi Georgia. Further to my recent email, I'm pleased to confirm the voting round will be open in approximately 66 hours from the time of this email on Wednesday the 29th of July at 8 a.m. BST. Be sure to make a note of this opening time so you have as much time as possible within the voting period to invite voters to vote for your application. You'll find full details on the voting round below, guidance on the voting process. To cast votes, voters should go to www.angelfundinginternational.com/vote. To vote, your voters will need your unique voting reference, which I will read now, is 17685731171. The applicant who has received the most votes by the close of the voting round will receive the sponsorship allocation of £1,025.50. Voters may pay 50p per vote, and as I've said before, that's to prove the legitimacy of the vote so people aren't spamming bots. You may promote your application and invite voters to vote for you. Voters may cast multiple votes as a means of weighting their support for applicants. The voting reference numbers of the three leading applicants, those with the most votes, will be listed on the voting page, and these top three positions will be updated throughout the voting round. I have no idea how many people are eligible. I don't know. I feel like it's approximately like 20 from what I've heard, but like I don't have a way of knowing. The applicant with the most votes by the close of the voting round will be offered the total sponsorship allocation to support their requirements and will be asked to make a post on the Instagram account detailed in their application. Where applicable, guidance will be provided. Voting closes at 6 p.m. British Standard Time on Friday the 31st of July 2026. Please feel free to get in touch if you have any questions or require any support. Good luck. And then there's the contact information. Whew. A lot of talking about money right now. So yeah, basically, that's a long history of my fighting credentials. I hope that those of you who took the time to stick around are interested in supporting my martial arts journey. You can do that in basically any capacity you want. You can do that you can do that by voting for me in this voting round that's coming up in the next 3 days. So that's a 50p investment. Obviously, if you want to do multiple votes, that would be really nice. There comes a point where if you want to do so many votes, then you might as well just, give me the money directly. Which I hope my opponent's voters are aware of that logic too. So you can either vote for me in this round of upcoming funding via Angel Funding International. You alternatively could go into my Discord server, which is linked in the description below, and you can become a patron in my Discord server, where you can then use the perks to promote your own martial arts stuff in my Discord server as event things or like anything you want really. In the future, I also intend to share regular posts listing off my patrons across my various social media, so I would appreciate people who want to do that. And there is no minimum payment threshold below like £1. You can do a one-off donation, or you can do a recurring sponsorship monthly donation through my Discord upgrade chat bot. So that's how that works. Or you could just subscribe to the channel, watch my content, help me get viewed more. That's the typical way of supporting someone without paying them in the online landscape, is just watch my content, watch a lot of time of the content. Once this video goes up as a VOD, you could just like watch all of it again or leave it running or whatever you want. I like to think that I provide actually valuable, entertaining content on martial arts on this channel. And you could appeal to your employers, or if you are a business owner, then you can contact me directly to sponsor me for either an individual event or an ongoing partnership. That is up to you. To summarize for anyone who has just tuned in just now, I am a Taekwondo athlete of 20 years of experience with a recent break into MMA this year. So I've got about 5-6 months of MMA experience now, and I've already won 2 fights at promotions and a competition. I got silver placement where I lost to a man in a mixed gender division. But it was a good fight. I lasted it for the most part until I got TKO'd. But it was a good fight. And I have a video of that, so I'm open to mixed gender fights as well. And I'm looking into amateur promotions later this year, where hopefully I will begin actually earning some money from fighting specifically, and not just from like sponsors to cover my expenses. That would be nice. Hopefully we can look into professional MMA before I get too old. Which, we like to think that there's not a cap on these things, but just in terms of your body being able to keep up, there are. I didn't think I was ever going to become a professional fighter after a certain point. It was never something I actively pursued, although I briefly did Olympic trials. I didn't really enjoy that, so I thought it wasn't really going to be an option for me, but we're doing a push for it now. And then someone's passed my window. I don't know if you heard that. And how else can you support me? Yeah, just if any of you would like to see my martial arts journey going forward, then please let me know. You're still welcome to apply to take part in With Respect. I still accept applicants for my podcast series if you have a story you want to tell and you want to chat to me about it. And I feel like I need to get a drink now. So just a reminder, I'll put one more time in the chat the links for the sponsorship information. I'll just copy paste the whole voting process for you. And I'll put that in the chat. Don't know how that will format. Oh, we are over a character limit. Let's halve it. Let's do this in multiple bullet points. Now it's all weird. Delete. Delete more. Oh my god, what's the character limit? There's so few characters allowed. I think it's like 200 character limit. It's like tweets. Okay, right. Let's try this amount. Here we go. Let's do the most important bullet points first. Nope, still over. Still over. Right. I'm gonna do like 2 bullet points at a time. Okay. Right. Guidance on the voting process. Here's the link. And it won't be open yet, but if you're watching on replay, then it should be open by the time this VOD processes. So there's a link to the page. And then to vote, you need to do this. Oh, it didn't do the HTML, not the HTML, it didn't do the SSL certificate on the link, so I'll repost it. So do this. But yeah, that's the information. Hopefully that's not too many characters. Yep, okay. I'll just redo the link with the HTTPS on it, just so people can actually click it instead of having to copy paste the URL, because that's a faff for everyone involved. HTTPS, Alright, there we go. Okay, now it's a link. Enjoy. So yeah, I've been going for ages now. My voice doesn't work anymore. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me ramble. There's someone who's been watching for like over an hour, which like, thank you very much. That's great. Please subscribe. Leave comments down below if you want to support me. And yeah, thank you very much. Have a nice day.